Julen Lopetegui is officially the head coach now at Wolverhampton Wanderers. It was announced yesterday morning, guys, before the game against Brighton. But of course, it's finally been announced. We knew that Lopetegui was the number one target for Wolves, but due to family reasons, he sort of batted back the request from Wolverhampton Wanderers. And we've been in limbo, haven't we, for the last month or so? But finally, things and talks were back on, and he is now officially the head coach of Wolves. He's going to be taking charge from next Monday, or a week on Monday. So after the Arsenal game, he's got throughout the World Cup break to take that time to get used to the players, get his ideas into their heads. There is going to be a sort of mid-season break. Looks like they're going to be going over to Spain, with details to be confirmed on that. But really looking forward to seeing how he can get on. And in today's video, we can obviously have a little bit more of an insight on him as well. A quick look at Lopetegui. He was a player. He did have a playing career as well as a goalkeeper. Played for Real Madrid, Barcelona, but mainly towards the end of his career at Rayo Vallecano, making over 100 appearances for them. Managed Vallecano as well, but went on to manage the Real Madrid B side, the Spain under-19s, 20s and 21s. Then moved on to Porto, which we'll come on to shortly as well, and then had a stint as Spain manager, Real Madrid manager, and most recently in charge of Sevilla as well. Now, his win ratio as a manager is very decent. If we include all of his clubs, just under 400 games and a very solid 58% win ratio. Of course, it's very high. If you look at the Spain win ratio there, over 80%, both for the under-19s, 20s, 21s, and the Spain job itself. But even at Sevilla, 90 wins from 170 games, over a 50% win ratio for him as a manager. Quickly looking at his honours as well as a manager, Europa League winner, obviously, with Sevilla, and the Super Cup runner-up in the 2020 as well, but consistently getting top four finishes with Sevilla, which was massive, obviously, for him as well. I mentioned it on last week's video, though, when I was talking about the effect that Lopetegui could have on certain players in the current Wolves squad. We look at it straight away, and there is obviously areas where quality need to be added, which we'll come on to shortly. But Ruben Neves was a player that I'd mentioned in the last video because he was given his first professional debut by Julen Lopetegui when he was managing Porto. Neves was asked about it yesterday after the Brighton game. He says, we know he's a great manager. He did a lot of big things in football. He coached a lot of big teams, Porto, Real Madrid, Spain. He won the Europa League, so everyone knows him very well, and I know he'll help us. I said he was special because he gave me my debut in professional football at 17. At that time in Portugal, nobody did that. So, of course, he's a special coach and a special person for me. Because of him, I started to play professional football with my team in Porto. Now, we don't quite know who Lopetegui is going to be bringing in terms of coaching staff right now. But over the next couple of days, I would assume we will find out, because it said that earlier this week, probably on Tuesday, the coaching staff are going to be going to Compton to meet players, speak with them, get to know them a little bit better, and they are going to be present for the game on Wednesday against Leeds in the Carabao Cup. Julen will be travelling to England slightly later in the week. He should be there by the end of the week, probably Friday, and obviously be present for the game against Arsenal in the Premier League next Saturday, although he won't be managing that game. But Steve Davis, the current interim manager, was asked again about Lopetegui's arrival. Steve Davis said, if I was in his shoes, I'd be looking to increase the attacking quality. There is quality in the team and there is confidence and fight. The club just needs someone who can stamp their philosophy on it and know what players he needs to flourish in the system. There's quality here, but maybe the balance isn't quite right. And you would assume that Lopetegui wouldn't join Wolves without the club saying they are going to back him, because there are certain areas in this team. We saw it against Brighton, possibly the fullback area. Defensively, we've been very poor this season. But the obvious one, and it's not just been this season, it's been the last 2 or 3 years, the issue is Wolves going forward. We just cannot seem to score a good amount of goals at the moment. And that's what Lopetegui is going to have to try and do to try and get the best out of this team. So I had the pleasure of sitting down with Guillem Balague to talk about Julen Lopetegui, his time in Spain, and what Wolves can expect. So then, guys, delighted to welcome Guillem on to Talking Wolves to talk about the appointment of Julen Lopetegui. Guillem, how are you keeping?
Yeah, all good. Greetings from Oslo in Norway.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, no problem. Yeah, good. Obviously, I remember back in, I think, 2016, you reporting on Julen Lopetegui potentially joining Wolves when we were about to have a takeover. We're sort of 6 years on now. What has the situation been with him? Have Wolves always, in your opinion, Wolves always been keeping tabs on his situation as a manager?
Yeah, it's obviously have been a manager that has been improving every year. There was of course the decision to make, having had negotiations with Wolves when you were in the Championship, see if he wanted to join in or not. He was convinced that that was the right step for him. Uh, he's always had the Premier League and the English leagues in his side. But of course, the national side came on, and then he did really well with the national team. The federation decided when they found out that Real Madrid had signed him, decided to get rid of him in a very mysterious, stupid, really, decision. But in any case, Wolves always kept in touch through, the links are very clear. His agent is Carlos Bucero, who is linked to Giorgio Mendes, and Giorgio Mendes has got a link to Wolves.
Of course,
But
yeah.
behind all that, there is a decision of a manager that wanted to test himself in the place where all the managers want to test themselves right now, which is the Premier League. And as I've been reporting, the approach came in the wrong timing, if you like, when he just left Sevilla and needed a rest. But he's had the rest, and it would have been, looking back, it would have been interesting if he had actually managed to get to Wolves at the time when you were still in the Championship, because I feel the decision of managers haven't always been the best one from the new owners, and he would have been straight away, I think, a really good addition of somebody that would have enjoyed a long-term project, which I think is what he's got in his hands now.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, the situations of both Wolves and Julen could have been so different if he had joined back then. But he's had some great jobs since, like you've mentioned, Spain, Real Madrid, although it didn't end too well. But Sevilla, who's been really good, top four finishes, Europa League wins as well. What's his sort of play style been in recent years at Sevilla? What can Wolves fans expect him to sort of set up with?
Well, at the moment, Wolves cannot defend and cannot
Cannot
attack.
score.
So,
Yeah.
so I think the room for improvement is massive with players. Some of them who are international, and of course, you've been unlucky with injuries, especially up front. I don't think Diego Costa is a solution. In any case, what you've got is a team with potential, and that's what he has identified. I think, for what I know of him and the way he sets up teams, it's all about structuring a team that is difficult to beat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So I think when the market opens, there will be additions to the side, maybe a centre back, maybe a centre forward. There's a need for players everywhere, and that's admitted by the interim manager himself. So it's not a new thing. But in any case, that will come later. First is about getting to know what he's got in his hands. There is obviously no time to intervene before that. The coaches are speaking. Well, he's taking decisions about the coaching staff. That's where he has to dedicate his energy and see what he sees when he sees the team live against Arsenal next Saturday, and then it's a time to rebuild confidence, to rebuild the squad, and to, as I say, first to make the team very difficult to beat, and then little by little, and this will take a while, little by little, a team that has got different layers tactically, layers of knowledge of the game, with players that will improve, I'm sure, because that's what he does. But yeah, let's not compare Wolves to Sevilla just yet, because Sevilla was a winning side that he made better. But Wolves is right now a team in construction.
It'll be really interesting to see how long it takes. I mean, his first few fixtures are very difficult as well. As soon as he joins Wolves after Christmas, it's Everton, Manchester United. We play some top teams in there. In terms of maybe coaching staff that he'll bring with him as well, there's not many people right there at Wolves. Do you think there'll be many people follow him from Sevilla or follow him from different clubs he's been at over the years?
Yeah, he's always kept in touch with one or two coaches, Spanish coaches who are based in England, and I think at least one of them will join him. This is the kind of figure that has been through the years in touch with Lopetegui, always with the idea of coming to England. And this particular coach has been informing him of trends or how it goes in the Premier League with rivals, with how to behave in the media, relationship to referees, which is so important. Understanding that what gets signaled as a foul in Spain doesn't get signaled as a foul in the Premier League. That is a completely different game. But I know he knows all that because we've spoken many times about it. But in any case, that process of adaptation will be for him as well. And it's good to have his trusted coaches who are coming with him, but also, as I say, additional ones that he's going to pick based in England. Plus, I'm very aware that some of the coaching staff that's already there will remain. So it's going to be a mixture of it, and then everybody's got to show their potential as coaches too. And then again, time will tell if he continues with the same or he needs to replace some. But decisions are being made right now.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, at the moment, the issue with Wolves in terms of transfers and overseeing things on the football side of things, we have seen it in previous years. A manager's almost brought a director of football with them. Is that something that you think could happen at Wolves, or is that a long shot?
No, he comes in as a manager quite clearly, but there's a structure at the club. There's a way of doing things. He just wants to point out of what profiles he needs, maybe one or two players that he thinks he could help, but that's not his job. His job is what he's been given. Obviously, he will have, as I say, a say in when whoever is coming in and what profile, especially of players, are needed. But in any case, this is a club thing, and do not give him too much to do because I think he's got enough with the amount of stuff that he's going to have to put in training. It is a side that I don't think deserves to be where it is, but certainly unless the word comes in and the adaptation comes quickly, it will be bad news. It seems like everybody should accept that it's a relegation battle this season, and the sooner everybody accepts that, the better.
Yeah, and Sevilla, we've mentioned a couple of times. What went wrong there? Because, like I said earlier, had some great finishes in the league, but things turned a little bit sour, didn't they, towards the end? Well, I say that, but he got almost a standing ovation, didn't he, on the day he left the club?
He did. It was a really emotional sending off of a set of fans that understood that he had given a lot to the side, had made them even better, more competitive, more winning mentality throughout the club, not just the side, but also who had accepted or had taken the conclusion that the era had finished. You see him tired as he was at the end. You see the coaching staff also tired. You see that they had given absolutely everything. And there was a mixture of things that happened. Once, there are cycles, and after a while, you just people start getting tired of the same instructions or the same voices, if you like. But at the same time, the squad has been so diminished in terms of quality this summer that the finger of blame shouldn't be pointed to him. He loses the two centre backs that allowed the team not to concede for a team that didn't score a lot and didn't have a lot of quality up front. They were absolutely crucial. And they get replaced by Marcao, who's been injured more than has played. And, with a 19-year-old centre back from Bayern Munich who's untested. And you cannot build at the same level as you had been doing. But also Ocampos up front goes. The replacements are players like Isco, for instance. I haven't really got the pace or the strength of Aaron Ocampos. There is not much of that pace, especially up front, and you cannot do what you've been doing if you actually take some of those key pieces and don't replace them well. Transitional period always happens in teams, but I don't think there was the patience enough to actually rebuild with Lopetegui in charge, because from the previous season, when the atmosphere becomes a little bit untenable, where he's backed only by the director of football, but some people within the club are doubting the manager. He gets to a point where everybody seems to know what the solution is, and at the end, it's easier to just get rid of the manager and start over. But as you can see with the results that Sampaoli has had, it wasn't to do with the manager. What was wrong with the side? And now Sevilla are themselves in a relegation battle, which sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. And you talk about transition. It feels like Wolves have been in three. This will be the third year of transition. We had Bruno Lage last year. The final year of Nuno Espirito Santo was like that because he tried to change the way we play. We very quickly mentioned it earlier because of Sevilla possibly not replacing those players. Do you think Lopetegui is going to want more control on what's going on? I know we mentioned it earlier. We don't want him to, he probably won't want to fiddle too much with things behind the scenes. But in terms of transfers, do you think he's going to want, if a player goes, he's going to want them almost like for like replacement?
It's not his ambition to become director of football and manager and coach and father and brother and psychologist and everything else that he has to do. So I think the job is quite clear. This side needs to stay in the Premier League and then build something. And he has been given the opportunity to lead a project in which everybody has got the role, and he will, as I say, he will have a say. But just don't give him too much to do. Just let him get on with the job of actually improving the side and improving the players, which is what he does really, really well. Then when things get more settled, when quite clearly Wolves go up the table, as I think they will do, it will be an opportunity for him to know more of the Premier League and what is required, because that is the other thing. I mean, I remember Pep Guardiola when he first arrived, and he was in awe of the pace and the tempo of everything that was happening in the Premier League. You have to train for that. He obviously have come from Bayern Munich and the Bundesliga, which there is a little bit of a transition between what he was doing at Barcelona to what he did in the Premier League, where there's quicker transitions and a way of playing that is kind of similar to the Premier League. The jump from Sevilla to the Premier League is a bigger one. But having said that, for me, Sevilla was one of those Premier League type, one of the few ones, perhaps the only one, type of team that Lopetegui had built with centre midfielders that were tall and strong and can cover a lot of ground, with forwards that had to run a lot to recover the ball, with fullbacks that went up and down, squishing the pitch. But when they got the ball, just again attacking, so not much pause. All that is not that typical of a Spanish football. Sevilla were doing that. So in a way, what makes the jump of Lopetegui interesting to go to the Premier League is not just that he's a very good manager. He's a manager that understands and actually plays or manages in a similar way to what you will recall in the Premier League. So I'm very much looking forward to see what he can do, and I think the impact will be immediate.
Do you think he'll be a success in the Premier League, Julen?
I've got no doubt that he's a very, very, very good manager. Not just another manager, a very good manager. But it all requires time. So I don't think the judgment should be on this one. This one is about saving the season. But I can tell you that there will be a tenor venture with the money that Premier League clubs have, with intelligent signings, with good coaching. Wolves should be where he belongs, top 10, and then, in a good season, maybe even making it into Europe. And I think Lopetegui can take you to that.
Fingers crossed. Julen, thank you so much for jumping on Talking Wolves. We'll see you very soon.
See you soon.
So a big thank you to Guillem. He's a huge, obviously, football presenter and journalist. So I appreciate him taking the time to sit down and give us some insight on Lopetegui. But guys, let me know your thoughts. A huge appointment by Wolves. Hopefully we can get some points or at least a win in the cup. Obviously this week, whilst his staff and he will turn up. I mean, let's have a quick look at what his first bunch of games could be. And my word, there are some tough games in there. So if we beat Leeds this week in the Carabao Cup, that will be Julen Lopetegui's first game in charge. If not, it's a away trip to Everton on Boxing Day. We host Manchester United on New Year's Eve. An away trip to Aston Villa going into the new year. Hosting West Ham United, and then away trip to Manchester City and a home game against Liverpool in his first bunch of games. Some really tricky games in there for Lopetegui. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on this appointment. Fingers crossed it's going to be a good one for Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm really looking forward and I'm excited to seeing what he can bring to the club. As always, be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you all very, very soon.